here talking today with Donna, a recovered alcoholic who's been a sober alcoholic for 6 years now. So Donna, how do you feel about staying sober? Is it a challenge or?
Every day is a challenge. You know, I've relapsed twice in that 6 years, attending AA meetings every week, but just with the pressures of advertising and every social gathering seems to, you know, be around alcohol, it's really hard.
So what do you mean about advertising? How would that in any way contribute to your busting? I can understand how possibly when you're having gatherings with your friends that could influence you to drink.
Well, even the ads for, say, teenage drinking, it just triggers the sort of alcohol, even though it can be a negative sort, but it still triggers that. It's around you all the time.
Yeah, so you find it hard to stay sober. And you mentioned you busted twice, and how did that affect you and your family?
Well, my family obviously were disappointed, so was I, and I think you just feel like you're starting from scratch again. It doesn't matter if you've been, you know, sober for 6 years, all that doesn't matter anymore.
So I suppose what you're saying is when you bust, you're in a completely different world and it's hard to get yourself back on track.
Exactly. And even if you have 1 or 2 drinks, it's exactly the same. Because you can't, well, I can't, you just want to have more.
So you can't just have 1 or 2 drinks?
No.
And what might peak sort of relate to is the external environment and how that might pressure someone to relapse. And I mean, you've mentioned advertising, but what about things like music or, you know, things that might remind you of your past when you used to drink? Does that affect you in any way?
Oh, definitely. I can think back to certain songs that, you know, you could have been out, it could have reminded you of, say, your 21st or whatever, and that takes you straight back. And most of my time was around drinking back then. So, you know, or even special events, even Christmases will trigger it.
So, I mean, there must be a lot of things in the environment that can trigger that then. You know, there's so many things out these days, and there's so many, I suppose, drive-through bottle shops that it's really at your convenience at any time. And I can imagine that must be a really hard thing for a sober alcoholic, especially who's busted twice, and, you know, I can see how hard that must be.
Yeah, and they also have a lot of advertising across, you know, highways and freeways about, you know, alcohol, or here we are coming up to, you know, the Melbourne Cup, which is sponsored by alcohol companies.
That must be really hard when you're just trying to get away from it. It probably seems like it's popping up all the time. So, I don't know, another part that I've sort of researched about is how watching movies can also, and watching TV can also trigger the responses to alcohol that just makes those thoughts go into your mind.
Exactly.
Would you say that movies and TV shows would do that to you, or how could you explain how, if so, how that does affect you?
Okay, well, you can be sitting there watching a movie and they can all be having a good time, say like even The Hangover, you know, recent movies, and that can make you, you know, you think, oh, it's funny, it's, you know, so it makes you want to go and have a drink, or it can take you back to, you know, if you went to a hen party and things like that.
Yeah.
People do drink. It's like if people smoke in a movie, a lot of people feel like a cigarette then too.
Yeah. So, you said you attend AA meetings. I've also done a story on that. So, how do you think AA meetings help you? Do you think that they're good, or do you think they're helpful?
They sort of are helpful, but at the same time, they can be, you know, they can be a little bit negative for you too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I'm touching on that. Do you think that in the future that it's going to get worse, or all the alcohol that's present in the environment, or do you think it's going to stay steady?
I think it'll probably get worse, especially because teens are brought up on alcohol, and a lot of the companies really cater for teenage drinking.
Yeah. With
everything that's sweet and sugary and, you know, ready to drink.
Yeah. So, how do you think this is going to affect other sober alcoholics? Do you think that it's going to cause more relapses, or?
Oh, definitely. I think Australia as a whole is really prone to drinking. Like everything we do here is surrounded by
Culture,
alcohol.
yeah.
It's
I
our
can see
culture.
exactly what you mean. I mean, I think even, I suppose I sort of didn't realise it as much until I did this piece and I started taking note of how alcohol is present everywhere in every walk of your life. It's just there, and you know that's a really important factor, especially for people that are trying to stay off the alcohol. One can see how that must really affect you, and I do hope that you remain sober.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Donna.
Bye-bye.